Breaking down Keep Me Company, episode 3, part 3, Home Away from Home. So now we're talking about growth, accepting it, but still making sure you are who you are, right? Wise man said, you know, you are who you are when you got here, you know? So knowing that there's still certain things in the world and the life that you grew up out of, the world that you was able to move on from while still never forgetting who you are. And you're still tapped in. You still get that call, home away from home. And I made it like that. I bought it like that. I'm living like that. My A likes was trying to divvy a pack. Couldn't divvy my A likes. I wasn't christened like that. Just pray nobody drowns if the Jake swim and attack. So talk about growing up with friends who may have moved a certain way or did certain things, and they may want you to get involved, and you're not getting involved, but you're also not cutting those friends off, right? You may not have the same occupation as the friends that you grew up with. You may not have been on that type of time, but you're not cutting them off, you know? I wasn't christened like that, meaning I wasn't born and raised like that. You know, you're christening, you know what I mean? I wasn't christened like that. So my likes was trying to divvy a pack, meaning divide a pack, do certain things. It's all coded, but it's all there. Couldn't divvy my likes. I wasn't christened like that. Just pray nobody drowns if the Jake swim and attack. Meaning, even though I'm not involved, I'm not cutting myself off from y'all, because we all crew, we all one. And the police gonna look at us the same. So let's just pray nobody drowns if the Jake swim and attack. My man died celebrating the wins that he fought to live out. Me and A cried separately, couldn't bitch out. A cabbage through the hood is nothing nobody dreamt about. God called numbers, we be hoping that he misdialed. So my bro, my man Pesos, he passed away. And, you know, he was living life, you know, successful, doing things, you know, and growing up, embracing growth as well. And he died celebrating the wins that he fought to live out, right? He died in the middle of just celebrating, loving life and living life, and he died unexpectedly. So you're trying to live life, and this is a blanket statement, you're trying to live life, and you're doing whatever you can to celebrate and enjoy the moments of life, and then you unexpectedly die trying to celebrate the fact that you're living. And it's just a horrible situation. That was one of my closest friends. Me and A cried separately, couldn't bitch out, right? A is my best friend in the world. I've talked about him on every album. And when A called and told me, we both was heartbroken, but he couldn't cry and I couldn't cry in front of each other, right? We didn't cry on the phone, but I know when he hung up, he cried. And when I hung up, I cried, right? But we grew up a certain way. You can't show that. You know what I mean? We grew up a certain way. So me and A cried separately, couldn't bitch out. A carriage through the hood is nothing nobody dreamt about. They gave my man Pesos, they had the carriage going through the hood for his service and all that. That's nothing that we dream about. It's an amazing send-off, but it's not what we want, because we don't want to be sent off anytime soon. So that's what I'm saying with that, right? Like it's a beautiful thing, but we don't want that to be the reality of our family and friends and loved ones and people that we close to ourselves, because we don't want to be sent off anytime soon. So when you out living life and growing up, you're not predicting that that's going to be the way it ends. You're going to carriage through the hood, you know? So it's just saying we don't want to die no time soon. You know, a carriage through the hood is nothing nobody dreamt about. God called numbers, we be hoping that he misdialed. When God called your number like it's time to go, that's like saying, man, I hope God just misdialed on that one. Like, oh, I didn't mean to call you, my bad. You know, like, it's a play on words and frame of mind. But God called numbers, we be hoping that he misdialed. Phones ring louder depending on the receiver. You know, so if you get that call, some people will tell you when they get that call of the worst news ever, they'll say the phone rang louder than it ever did, with them not even knowing what was on the other side of that phone. So as the receiver of the phone call, that phone rang so loud, sometimes you'll be like, I knew it was gonna be bad news, you know, and that's how some people look at things like that. And some people have said things like that. So phones ring louder depending on the receiver. Heartbeats racing descend on the slower breathers, right? Your heartbeat start racing when everything was calm 2 seconds ago. Now your heartbeat is racing because of this awful news that you got. And again, this is a blanket statement. It goes for anybody dealing with something like that. Heartbeats racing descend on the slower breathers. I never knew a LOX tape that ain't blow a speaker. So now I'm talking about the things we learned from what raised us, the music that raised us, the culture that raised us. I'm a huge LOX fan, you know that. So I'm talking about the LOX. I never knew a LOX tape that ain't blow a speaker. You know, all they shit great. You know what I mean? I never knew a tape that ain't tear up my speaker because I was always blasting it. And I never knew a first night kill that became a keeper, right? I never knew a girl that you could meet and hook up with on the same day, the first day that you meet her, and wind up wifing her. That's just how we was raised in the hood. You may run around with joints, you may meet a joint today and, you know, enjoy and have a good time, for lack of a better term, and trying to keep it clean, but that's normally not the one that you wife, right? So I'm just giving you the rules and morals that we grew up on, me and A and Pesos and all of us, in the way that we grew up. Again, I'm just painting the world like I always do. I never knew a LOX tape that ain't blow a speaker, and I never knew a first night kill that became a keeper. My procedure was how I was raised, being the key to the money, power, respect that they left here to play the leader. My mind on the bracelets, they brung them to keep Mumia, but my bracelet out the window, you couldn't 20 degree us what you thought. So what I'm saying on all that, Mumia Abu Jamal, you know, my mind is on the bracelets they brung in to keep him. My mind is on the fact that he's caged up and what he went through and everything that he represents and what he's dealing with. So you got that frame of mind. But my bracelet out the window, you couldn't 20 degree us, meaning no matter how cold the weather is, I'm rolling the window down and putting my arm out the window so you can see my bracelet, right? Because that's the way we grew up. So it's the yin and the yang and the juxtaposition of like being present and being of mind and of a state of mind of my people, strength, fighting a good fight, fighting for the power, fighting the power, but also being a kid from outside who looked up to the OGs and guys making money and getting busy. So we gonna shine, you're gonna see what I'm doing. And it's such a juxtaposition because you're either in one frame of mind or the other growing up. But when you grow up the way I did, there's a tug of war with those two worlds. And I've been a product of that forever. And that's always been in my music. So the money, power, respect goes back to the LOX. Money, power, respect that they left here to play the leader. Like that's what led us. My mind on the bracelets, they brung in to keep Mumia. My bracelet out the window, you couldn't 20 degree us, you know. Second verse, fear is just a concept that ever we grew up in. They was airing out the projects. How you get up out them but be in them, shit is complex. But my key cut the same, I won't never be no house guest. So no matter how far I'm removed from a world, a way of life, a neighborhood, I'm always gonna be able to understand and relate. My key is cut the same, I won't never be no house guest. Like he's not a house guest, this is home for him. I don't care what he's done, touring, being on the road, moving, house, suburbs, plays, Carnegie Hall, Broadway, whatever, he's still one of us at the end of the day. And we know that because we grew up with him, right? Speaking of myself. So I will never be no house guest. I was Dap Dunlap with a New Jack City cast for best friends and a Jane and a Rachel on the check-in. So I'm talking about, you know, school days, Dap Dunlap, all that I talked about. With a New Jack City cast for best friends. I was on this, my friends was on that. Like I've spoken about on every album, on every song, I've spoken about that type of energy. With a Jane and a Rachel on the check-in, I'm just talking fly and talking about I was on that type of time, still had the girls, still was doing that, still was moving, still had interest in that world, of course. And talking about Jane and Rachel from school days, Dap Dunlap, Jane and Rachel, you know. I was Dap Dunlap with a New Jack City cast for best friends and a Jane and a Rachel on the check-in, talking black power while letting the sour set in. The pot calling the kettle black, pouring my next blend. The pot, the kettle, blend, tea, you know, pouring my next blend. Jane and Rachel, that whole energy of, you know, the light skin versus the dark skin and me being interested in both and me playing in both worlds and all that type of stuff. So, you know, pouring my next blend, how I stepped in, my symbolism engraved, switching jewelry from my innocent days and spilling spade. Now I'm in a space where I can buy jewelry and do things and spill ace of spade in the spot and whatever, in light of my innocent days. When I was younger, when I was a kid and I didn't do certain things to acquire and hit certain desires, right? Now I can in another capacity through music. So for my innocent days and spilling spade, bottle service for the mind of a saint and for the depth of it. How was I coke rapping so well It was effortless, really. So what I'm saying, if you know the Mind of a Saint album, where I became Franklin Saint, and it was a coke rap album that was used to hit kids and hit the audience and hit the target of steering them away of what not to do, and using that as a vehicle to touch them and to teach them the ways and get them out of a certain life and stop glorifying certain things that all these other rappers will have you glorifying. How's he coke rapping so well? He never been a coke rapper in his life. Yo, he killed this album. Well, it was effortless. If I grew up around certain guys in certain neighborhoods and certain energy, like I said, the whole Rich Paul thing, like, you know basketball, even if you ain't played, if your best friend is LeBron and you with him 24/7, right? You know all that. So it was effortless, really. Secondhand smoke will do you quite fine, right? That secondhand smoke of being around, but not being in the mix, in the scramble, but knowing it because you're around it. Secondhand smoke will do you quite fine. My first #1 plaque was me selling you white lines, right? Mind of a Saint went number one hip hop album in the country the week that it dropped. My first #1 plaque of my own. I got a bunch of plaques in the crib, top 5, top 3, top 5 Billboard, top 3 Billboard, whatever it is. Plaques for other artists that I've been able to put the pen down for. But my first #1 plaque just so happened to be me doing coke rap. Like, even though my message was to steer people away from it, that's the one that went #1. The irony of that, right? My first #1 plaque was me selling you white lines, bumping Group Home, eager to make it back in a 2-tone Siegelman stable hat. Group Home, of course, you know, and I'm talking about making it back home. And I'm just talking fly talk with the Siegelman stable hat. Siegelman stable is a hat brand in New York. They're like $300 a hat. They're 2 tones, cream with the blue, cream with the orange, whatever it is. And that's just fly talk right there at the end. And also showing growth, also showing where my interests lie. The same dude who cares about Mumia Abu Jamal cares about a $300 hat, right? The irony, you know. The third verse, and may Allah be pleased, or Jehovah, or what we call him when we fall to our knees. Whatever you call God when you fall to your knees and pray, may he be pleased, right? So may Allah be pleased, or Jehovah, or what you call him when you fall to our knees. All of my juries is twins, my entendres and threes. If there's 4 more at my table, then that's 5 on the reach. So now I'm playing with the numbers, right? There's one God, no matter what you call him. All of my jewelry is twins. I normally have on 2 chains. I didn't today because I didn't want them to clash on the mic. But I normally have on 2 chains. All of my jewelry is twins. My entendres is 3s. I'm always doing triple entendres. If there's 4 more at my table, meaning there's 4 other artists at my table, 4 other rappers or kings, and that's 5 on the reach, meaning I'm at that top 5 table without a doubt. So I'm saying it's me and whatever other 4 you want. So it's a play on words. It's also a play on where we're coming from with using the analogy of numbers, and then also starting with God. There's one God. I double up my jury. I'm the triple entendre guy. And at best, there's 4 others at the table with me, and that makes 5 at best on the reach of who all is sitting at this table of greats. So essentially, I'm calling myself top 5 and using numbers and using schemes to do so. Hand in hand, like the watchtower truth that you breathe by. Talking about Jehovah's Witnesses, if you know my story, you know that's a part of my family and a part of my story in that, right? You know that some of my family, my pops, all that, some of my family, that's a part of my world. Hand in hand, like the watchtower truth that you breathe by, the watchtower truth, and you just walk by it on the corner, you see it and you just ignore it. Or hand in hand, like handing you truth with a bean pie. But I'm also talking about the nation, which is also something that I'm very aware of, something that I study a lot of, and something that I'm very interested in. It's something that I put a lot of time into as well. The juxtaposition, like I study a lot about witnesses and I study a lot about the nation, and I know they are vastly different. And that's the irony and the juxtaposition within myself. And I'm calling them both the truth, right? And that's a whole nother discussion that I can get into later. I'm looking at it where they both have so much truth to them, and they're both 2 of the largest factors that people like to try to ignore when it comes to religion and spirituality and God. So hand in hand, like the watchtower truth that you breathe by, or hand in hand, like handing you truth with a bean pie. Preaching to a choir who would never want screen time. Preaching to the choir of my peoples who don't want to be on camera, don't want to be in the videos, don't want to be on a record because they got too much to lose. They just want to support me by playing my music and knowing that they some of my best friends. preaching to a choir who would never want screen time. My cup's still red. My integrity freeze dried. It never dies. You know, freeze dried food in space, blah, 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 blah. You know, my cup's still red. No matter who I am, I'm still good for a red cup with Henny in it to kick it and vibe with the bros and all that. My cup's still red. My integrity freeze dried. It never dies. From out a hood that was fetishized, clipping your wings and daring you to propel by. So I'm out of a hood that people have a fetish for. Gentrification, right? Like a neighborhood that they wanted. They had a fetish for this hood. Like, we want that neighborhood. We want that borough. We want that side. From out a hood that was fetishized, clipping your wings and daring you to propel by. They cut your wings and they dare you to fly. They dare you to do something better and leave when they cut off the chances that you have to do so by clipping your wings. Clipping your wings and daring you to propel by. The camera's off when the revolution catch a rise. If that's the case, then my name will never be televised. So as soon as the revolution start moving, they don't want to show that. The cameras are off all of a sudden, right? The camera's off when the revolution catch a rise. If that's the case, then my name will never be televised, because that's all what I'm on. If that's the way they're moving, where they no longer want to spotlight the revolution, what it's supposed to be, then I'll never be televised, because that's all that I'm on. Surround sound me, so you won't see me, but you can hear me. Surround sound me, bodega crown me, for every critic who tried to underground me, every critic who tried to backpack me and all that. Here's why you can't. And tell them, yo, I made it like that, I bought it like that, I'm living like that. Parallel to where the building's attached, the project, right? I'm parallel to that, you know? Home away from home.